Hello, Ken. This is my Michigan State versus Maryland post-game analysis. And how about that for a bounce-back game? Before I get into it too much, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, comment, and hit that notification bell down below. I do greatly appreciate the love and support. Yeah, it was a really good bounce-back game. I'm going to go right into my predictions, which were pretty close. You got to admit, I'm doing pretty good. I predicted they were going to win by 17. It was actually 19, but still pretty close. I predicted our defense was going to get at least 4 sacks. They got 4 right on the money. And I predicted that we would score over 40 points. We hit 40 right on the button. So I'm going to take those as wins. It was pretty close on those 3 predictions. I got to admit, I wasn't expecting to be that close to correct. But yeah, it was just a good bounce back game. I thought that we played pretty well. The biggest difference I saw between this game and the Purdue game was our defensive line played better. And our defense is only going to be as good as our defensive line is. So if our defensive line plays poorly and doesn't get a lot of pressure, like they did against Purdue, it's going to be a rough day. If they do get pressure, like they did against Maryland, then things go much, much better. That's just the way our defense is built this year. We play a lot of guys on islands. We press the box quite a bit, meaning we have a lot of players up, and so the passes down the field are there if the quarterback has time to throw the ball, which is why Michigan and Purdue both threw for over 500 yards on this defense, because our defensive line just wasn't able to apply much pressure when they dropped back to pass. So much better job by the defensive line. That makes a huge difference. Offensively, we got back to just pounding the rock and getting the run game going, and we found ways to read the football. I'm still kind of waiting for somebody else to step up. Not that anybody else had a bad game per se, but it was still largely just Jaden Reed carrying the wide receiver core. He had 8 receptions, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Foster had 1 reception it was a good one for 52 and a touchdown, but only 1 reception, not great. Mosley added 4 for 52, Hunt 3 for 30, Walker 2 for 29, and just a bunch of guys with 1 reception after that. So really it was Jaden Reed and then not much else. I mean, if you take away that 1 big play from Foster, the rest of the wide receiver core does not look good in this one, especially against Maryland's defense. They're not that good. So I don't know if Peyton Thorne is still not comfortable throwing to some of these other guys, because you got to understand with Naylor out, I mean, these are guys that Peyton Thorne hasn't necessarily been throwing the ball to all year, so the rhythm and the timing between the two might not be there yet. I don't know if it's that or if it's just because Peyton is comfortable throwing to Reed and he always looks for Reed, which can't blame him. Reed's a heck of a talent, but at the same time, you don't want to lock in on your number 1 wide receiver too much. So I don't know. I felt like we benefited a little bit from Maryland having just a poor game plan coming in, but also we elevated our level of play after the Purdue loss. We didn't let that get us down. Had to bounce back quickly. That's exactly what we did. Thorne had a nice game, 22 for 30, 287 yards, 4 touchdowns. 1 interception. Kenneth Walker, 30 carries, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns, solid day. Simmons added some nice touches in the backup role, 6 carries for 39 yards. I actually like that split. I know Jordan Simmons had 6.5 yard per carry average, and so the temptation might be, well, maybe we should play him a little bit more. Maybe give him closer to 8, 9, 10 carries. I wouldn't do that. I think that split is pretty good. I like the 27 to 30 carries for Walker, and then I do like 5 to 7 at most for Simmons. You do want him to get in there every now and then to give Walker a little bit of a breather, but to me, Kenneth Walker really excels when he's getting the bulk of the carries. He really finds his rhythm, especially in the second half. And I would not do anything to mess with that at all. I think the formula right now is working. And really, this is Jordan Simmons' best game of the year so far, 6 for 39. I think I'd have to go back and look at the stats, but 6.5 yard average is probably one of his better games. So It may be tempting to say, well, maybe Simmons come along, we should play him a little more. Maybe one or two more carries than that, but I would still give the bulk of the carries to Kenneth Walker. He's shown he can handle it. I think he's better when he is on the field more, so I wouldn't mess with that formula. If it's working, stay with it. Maryland didn't do a whole heck of a lot, really. I mean, Tagovailoa had 350 yards. But again, you know, they'd get down there, they'd move the ball downfield, and then things would get bogged down, and they weren't able to capitalize with very many touchdowns. So it's still a lot of bend, don't break, and for the most part, it's worked this year. We've only lost one game. So, you know, I think some areas could be better, especially on the back end. I think the defensive play calling from Scotty Hazelton could be a little bit better, in that I think he needs to mix up his coverages a little bit more and not become so predictable. I think a little bit more zone coverage could be good, just to mix things up and keep that opposing quarterback on his heels a little bit, not let him get comfortable. But, yeah, overall they didn't. Only 97 yards as a team rushing, only one touchdown, so didn't do much there. Again, we just got beat through the air a lot, so excuse me, hiccups. So the opposing team's throwing numbers are a little bit gaudy and a little bit, I mean, they look pretty on paper, but at the end of the day, they only scored 21 points. So that's just kind of the way Michigan State's playing defense this year. This is just our philosophy, the bend, don't break philosophy, and so far it's working. So, you know, I'm not going to boo-hoo about it too much. It's getting the job done. Like I said, we only had one bad game against Purdue. So, honestly, I ain't worried about it. Not worried about it. Bend, don't break is fine. There are some different things I'd like to see out of Scotty Hazelton as far as mixing things up. You know, like I mentioned, the zone coverage is a little more, maybe blitz a little bit more. He relies pretty heavily on the defensive line, which for the most part has been fine, but against like Purdue, you were not getting pressure out of the front four, and then I would like to see him, like, if it's not working, adjust and start to bring some more blitzes. He does occasionally. I just think it could be a little bit more, especially if the front four are struggling to get to the quarterback. So just being a little bit nitpicky there. Some things I'd like to see out of Scotty Hazelton to help the guys defensively, you know, keep the offense on their heels a little bit, not be too predictable. But that's it. That's all I got on this one. Short and sweet, right? So I don't have a lot to add. We came out and did what we needed to do. That's it. It's that simple. You know, you had a bit of a letdown game against an unranked Purdue team. Don't let it hurt you 2 weeks in a row. We didn't. We came out and we crushed Maryland 40-21. Enough said. Enough said. That's all you got to do. Get the job done. And then we'll look ahead to Ohio State here in the next video. So that's it. That'll wrap this one. Remember, all love, all the time. Peace.